Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and an old dirt road, and you're ready to go if you want to. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today. Live Music Nation podcast special. Paul is hanging out with us today. All Souls Procession Festival. Paul, give us a little background on you. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Wow.
And I graduated high school in 1984, so I was growing up in New Orleans from the 60s through, and I think it influenced me for sure.
No, absolutely. Give us a little insight into you. Talk a little bit about your family and your career.
Yeah, so I've been doing producing, performing, doing live arts of all kinds, dance, music, production for 25 years or more, maybe a little bit more. And the All Souls is a really organic thing that happened when I moved to Tucson in 1990, in the winter of 1990, which was the first All Souls procession happened, which was about 40 people. Illegal event on the street in the middle of downtown Tucson with no one around. By 1998, it was a couple of thousand people, and the police were looking for someone to arrest, basically. And since I do production a lot, it was kind of like the cops were at the end. They were like walking around going, "Hey, you with the extension cords." And I was like, "Oh, who, me?" And they're like, "Yeah, you. Come here." And they're like, "Hey, who's in charge here?" And I was like, "Oh, I couldn't tell you who." Like, it just kind of happens. There's no one in charge. Like, really, dude. So there's no one in charge of this thing. I was like, "No, there's no one really in charge." They're like, "Well, hey, dude. So is this your extension cord you're winding up and you're lighting and you're trussing and this stuff?" I was like, "Yeah, it's mine." They're like, "Well, I hate to tell you, dude, but you're in charge." So that's how the whole like responsible party thing started. And there was no permit for us back in the day. Back in the 90s, there was no permit for a person-only walking parade with no motor vehicles and no livestock. There was only a livestock parade or a motor vehicle parade, but no walking procession. And the insurance for a livestock parade or the insurance for a motor vehicle parade was very expensive at the time. And so we just didn't have a permit for us. The city didn't have a way for us to do it legally. So over time, they made a way for us to do it legally. And long story short, by 2004, it was 10,000 people. And by 2011, it was 100,000 people. And that's with almost no marketing, no real budget to speak of. It was just word of mouth and people coming out to check out what was going on. A sculptress in Tucson named Susan Johnson was the one who founded the parade. She was one of the early women graduates of the Chicago Art Institute, and her father passed away in 1989. So in 1990, she hosted the first All Souls procession, which was like loosely based on the concept of like Dia de los Muertos or like Day of the Dead, but not like strictly for Latino and Catholic folks, but for everybody. Hence the name, the All Souls procession.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's grown into a giant, like almost out of control thing that happens every year. And so our job is to keep up with it, keep it flowing, keep it creative, keep it free, keep it non-corporate. It's just been a wild journey.
That's awesome. Okay, let's start with the when and the where.
Yeah, so the All Souls happens every year in downtown Tucson, Arizona. It happens like generally the first Sunday after Dia de los Muertos, which is November 2nd. So this year it's November 5th, 2023. And next year it'll be November 3rd, 2024. So okay. It kind of it doesn't tend to co-opt like Day of the Dead because that is its own holiday already and has its own traditions. So we throw our event after November 2nd, and now it's a whole weekend of events. There's a 3-day concert series. There's 8 weeks of workshops before the event to build puppets, to build all kinds of different altars, all like different creative things for like 8 weeks before the event. So there's workshops happening now, basically, and they all culminate. The entire thing like culminates on the weekend of November 3rd through the 5th.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Now, for the people that have never been there before, 3 questions that are going to help them get the picture in their mind, everything and all their senses in alignment. What does it look like? What does it smell like? Meaning food, things in the air. And what does it sound like? Meaning activities, music, other festivities. So let's go back. Number 1, what does it look like?
Gotcha. So it looks like it is a 2-mile walk through like Tucson, that people bring out a whole myriad of altars, rolling art, things they can push, pull, or pedal. People build floats, people build altars, people build things onto hand trucks, people like paint their faces, they create banners and walk for their family members and folks who have died and passed away. And it sounds like it might be solemn, but it's solemn and it's also celebratory, right? So lots of live music happening, lots of like every drum group, every like musical group in Tucson comes out, from the like Celtic dancers to the Scottish bagpipes, to the samba drummers, to the like capoeiristas. All different kinds of groups come out. It's like any and all are welcome. And that 2-mile walk starts at about, it meets at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and it leaves its like starting place at 6 p.m. And it marches 2 miles slowly. And it like ends at the Mercado district, which is where we own a venue space, and we host the after parties. And outside the venue space, we still have a large swath of public land in which the finale happens.
Oh, nice.
And inside the parade, there's an object that we call the urn. And the urn is a 9-foot star dodecahedron sculpture that is made of stainless steel that gets filled with names, pictures, wishes, and hopes for the dead. And that is filled up by the public. They fill it up with pieces of paper, like objects to art, different things. And that urn leads the parade, that like 2-mile walk. And at the end, there's a presentation by a group called Flam Chen, who is a fire service group. And we basically burn the urn off of a 175-foot boom crane for the grand finale. Yeah, it's very, very beautiful.
Very cool. Very cool.
And this year, so go ahead.
No, that's actually what I was getting ready to ask, is about the future. So go right ahead.
Well, I was going to talk about this year a little bit more. So every year we choose a new musical director or band for the event. And this year, the musical director is Soraya, who is a Tuvan throat singer. Very beautiful, deeply like spiritual music, and he will be leading it's about a 30-minute ceremony to burn the urn. And he will be singing and playing music for that. That's all been scripted and choreographed. It includes stilt walkers and fire dancers and propane cannons and video projections. And it all culminates in this giant release with about 200,000 people come out. It's pretty crazy. I still can't believe it still happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Very cool. So let's talk a little bit more about the future. What are some things you're hoping to add if addition is possible?
Well, we're open to adding all kinds of things. It's just being able to, the big challenge is paying for the parade, which costs us about $160,000 a year to pull off. Also keeping the commercial interest out, because it is a funeral, right? We treat it like our own personal funeral parade, and we want the town and the community that comes out to treat it the same way. So it's very non-commercial. Even though people think it is commercialized, it is not. There is no giant title sponsor that's giving us the money. We have to raise the money each year. which is a challenge. So we write grants for about 400 hours a year to write grants for about 50 to 60K.
Okay.
We work with small local businesses to raise the money. And then the rest of it, we basically hope and pray that the public pays up. Because if the public all paid, if everyone that was in it paid out like $2, it would be covered. It would be covered completely. But that's a hard sell, right? It's a free event, and we want it to be free and stay free so that there's no boundary to participate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Makes sense. Makes sense. Very good. Okay, a couple fun questions because I am in live music and live entertainment. I like to ask these next two questions as part of our podcast just for my own personal information. So, Paul, best concert you've ever seen in your entire life, who would you say?
It'd have to be somewhere between the band Love and Rockets,
okay,
or Pink Floyd.
All right, perfect. I get. You might be the first Leather Rockets that we've had suggested. I get Pink Floyd occasionally. Okay, dead or alive, you get to see one concert, one musical act or artist. Who would you choose to see?
I mean, I guess I saw him when I was a little kid, but like Jimi Hendrix, right?
Yeah.
Like I was born in Asbury Park in 1967. So I was at a Doors concert when I was 2. I saw Jimi Hendrix when I was 2 or 3, right? So yeah. I think I would go back to that time period. It's
yes,
just
that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. All right. Most importantly, Paul, today, how do people find out more information about the event?
You can go to allsoulsprocession.org. And that's like the mainstay for everyone to find out all the information, the guide for the weekend, the concerts, the like different workshops that happen.
Very good. Very good. Guys, thanks for joining us today for Festival Edition. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay.
Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle